Hello and welcome to On the Record, a debate-style television talk show where Bahamians will find the balanced, true and open debate they've been looking for. The Police Marine Division of the 1960s was responsible for stopping narcotics and illegal immigrants. But by the 1970s, the increase in poachers, drugs and immigrants gave rise to the establishment of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. Today, these Marines protect our borders vigorously. But recently, the clear and present danger they face was brought home to us in a very real way. In pursuit of a group of Dominican fishermen, our Marines were fired on, which led to a chase into an otherwise unfriendly territory. When it was all over, though, 3 boatloads of fishermen were in custody and loads of marine products confiscated. The incident seems to have captured the attention of Bahamians due to the sheer magnitude of the operation. Tonight, we look at the issue of poaching of our marine resources and the fight to save our seas. Our guest, local fishermen who see the damage firsthand, as well as the head of the Department of Marine Resources, is here to explain to us the regulations and policies. It's all on the record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Our discussion begins on the other side of this break.
On the Record is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
My name is Devon McPhee, and I am the executive chef / co-owner of Wild Time. So what's unique about Wild Time Restaurant is that it's an old traditional Bahamian home. It's about 175 years old. We have a fresh, young team we're just trying to change the way people view dining in the Bahamas and trying to highlight Bahamian food as best as we can. Also drinks and supporting local farmers and fishermen. So we chose to partner with Alive and the List Rewards program because restaurants are catalysts for people having a good time, whether it be for a birthday, anniversary, hanging out with friends, or just an intimate dinner. With the List program, we'll keep it fresh, innovative, always interesting, whether it be one of our signature drinks or a discounted food item.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the fastest way to purchase the vehicle you want right from home.
With SBT Japan, we import used cars from Japan straight to you.
Car ownership doesn't have to be hard. Go to sbtjapan.com and sign up for free. Search for the car you want, place your order, and make a payment using any one of our convenient payment options. Once you pay the duty and tax to our in-house broker, we will clear the vehicle and even deliver it straight to your home. Sounds too easy? Well, shouldn't it be?
When you consider what you all face on a regular basis out there and dealing with particularly the poaching situation, does this really speak to how difficult your work is sometimes and how challenging when you look at the many issues that this could have presented to you?
Well, it is difficult. For the most part, you have to time your chase or time it properly in order to catch the Dominican fishermen within your waters, so it could be a legitimate arrest. Then you always have to constantly be aware of the fact that there may incur some type of injury, i.e. the being fired upon. That's a major concern, especially of mine. So you don't want any of the crew suffering any type of injury, especially gunshot wound, because we are so far away from any type medical facilities. The sheer numbers, we're always outnumbered via poachers or migrants. So we always have to take a firm stance, firm security stance to ensure our safety.
And I'm pleased to welcome to our discussion tonight my guest for this segment, Keith Carroll. He's the Vice President of the Bahamas Commercial Fishing Alliance, along with local fisherman Thomas Pinder, as we discuss poaching of our marine resources and the fight to save our seas. Gentlemen, welcome to On the Record.
Good afternoon.
We have quite an exciting discussion planned for us here. But first, the brave efforts of Madeira's commanding officer, Senior Lieutenant William Stirrup, his officers and crewmen who risked their lives on more than one occasion in stopping the scourge of foreign poaching in Bahamian waters. That's according to the Defense Force Commodore Tallis Bethel. A statement from the Commodore said their commitment, hard work, and willingness to go beyond the call of duty is highly commendable, said Commodore Bethel. We begin our show tonight, though, with a look back at the events of 2 weeks ago, which have brought us to this point.
The ordeal began on the high seas more than a week ago. A Coast Guard cutter alerted the Defense Force of Dominican poachers in our waters. Daybreak Saturday, and the HMBS Madeira spots 3 vessels near Key Lobos, 12 miles north of Cuba. A seaboat, a smaller vessel, is deployed to apprehend the poachers. The Dominicans open fire on the Bahamians and flee into Cuban waters. The Cuban Border Patrol is alerted. Foreign Affairs contacts the Cuban government for assistance, and the Cuban Border Patrol apprehends them. Reinforcements from the HMBS Durwood Knowles are dispatched.
The major challenge was the numbers. Were the numbers 119 persons versus the small crew of Madeira and of Durwood Knowles, and the reported hostility that they had shown against the Defense Force boat. So there was a challenge. We had to compose ourselves and ensure that security of ourselves and the ship was of utmost importance. The transfer of the persons took about 2 hours because only about 8 to 10 persons could fit on the small boat to transfer to the large boat. And there was a language barrier, but fortunately we found one of the fishermen speak fluent English. So they were the major challenges, barring some small medical issues like diabetes and some open sores and stuff from some of the fishermen.
The On the Record team was given exclusive access to the HMBS Durwood Knowles as they were about to enter the Coral Harbor base. As we embarked, we were able to capture images of the 110 Dominican men held just outside the bridge. 9 of the countrymen were placed 3 apiece, along with Defense Force officers on their mother ships. Reinforcements from the highly trained Commando Squadron were a part of the convoy of ships deployed as an extra security measure.
Well, normally we carry out all missions by ourselves unless it's something of this magnitude, whereby there was hostility, there was 119 persons, and so our normal crew is about 22 persons and Madeira is 13. So we also have to put people on the captured crafts with some of their persons, and that's why we required some assistance from them, and that's always no problem. Whenever we feel like it might be more than we could, not more than we can handle, but where we need additional assistance, we'll call on them.
The Defense Force credits the Cuban Border Patrol and Embassy in Nassau for the prompt response, apprehension, and transport to Nassau.
Just a snapshot into the yeoman's effort it took just to apprehend, bring all of these poachers into Nassau. This particular story was so significant because of the magnitude of it. Obviously, it's not the first time. But, gentlemen, why are our waters so attractive to these poachers, and why do they continue to come?
Well, Jerome, I can tell you, for years, our waters was like almost open to everybody. You know, the fence was, we had a small fleet about, let's say 4 years ago, until the government spent the 200 and some million to upgrade the defense force. And I think that was the best money the government ever spent. Because if you see what was on these boats and the kind of stuff that they be carrying out of our country every month, there's only 3 boats and they have about 20 or 30 of them out there. And the money was well spent, and we'll see, I sure we see a decline in the amount of poachers coming to our country now, especially after these 3 boats was caught, and there was a bigger one caught in July. So it's 4 of those big boats out now, and our fines are going up. That could be a distraction, and even jail time.
When you are out to sea, you are out, you make a living from fishing, eh?
Yes, sir.
And you see these poachers. What is it like for you out there, particularly when you are encountering them?
It's very odd, because I'm wondering in my mind, how did they get here? Why are they here? And then I know why they're here, because they want to come in and get everything they could. And when they're on the bottom, they are totally wiping out everything. If they see 10 fish on the bottom, they take 11. I tell you, it's like I've never seen nothing like it before in my life. And I've been fishing for 10 years. And when I started fishing, I didn't have this problem. 10 years ago, I never noticed a problem. And I thought, man, this could be all my life. I'm going to have it made in the shade. You know, I'm a fisherman. You know, ain't nothing could stop me. And, oh, I bet it stopped me. And in my investments I've been making lately, it's been very, very hard, because by the time you get to them, they done work. And they ain't been worked once, they ain't been worked twice, they've been worked 3 and 4 times. Tell me why they are allowed to come in this country and do what they're doing.
What kind of methods do they deploy when fishing? We have some very strict regulations about how to fish, where to fish, what to fish. But I keep hearing that for them, no rules apply.
Jerome, they come in to get anything that is swimming, any size, don't make a difference to them. Don't care what, like, people like me and Chuck, well, I don't go to sea, but my boats. Let's say we come to a trap and that have 20 crawfish in it. Out of 20 crawfish, 4 might be up to size. We'll let the other ones go. But if you notice on that boat, I know you went in the freezers, right? They bring everything. It don't make a difference what size it is. The amount of crawfish that they brought in this trip and the one in July had 18,000 pounds of undersized crawfish. Those crawfish didn't even have a chance to reproduce. So you can imagine 20 of these boats coming in. They coming in every month. You know, and the good thing about it now is that before they used to come, and when the defense was go after them, they run into Cuban waters.
Right.
Now that door is being shut now.
We're definitely going to talk about that and why this capture was so significant, having worked with the Cubans.
Right. And if we had that back years ago, I don't think we would have had this problem now. Because years ago, that's what they used to, like, I can tell you, like, they fish on, I will give examples so the payment people can understand it. Like, our waters is Shirley Street. Cuban is Bay Street. So if the defense force don't meet them on Shirley Street, they get on Bay Street, you can't catch them no more. You can't touch them. But now that's closed down, they can't go there no more.
And they know that.
They know that, you're right. So that they used to come, what they usually do, Thomas can tell you, I could use Shirley Street, because people go
sure.
They'll drop their dinghies on Shirley Street. The big boat will go over almost to Bay Street. And these little boats in the water, the defense force, the radar can hardly pick them up. So the defense force patrolling, and they got their radars on, they wouldn't even see them. And at night, the small boats will go back over and meet the mothership. That's how he was doing this. And people are saying, well, the defense force can't do it, the defense force can't do it, but it's really, 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 really hard to catch them. If you got to catch them when they dropping them fellas off or picking them up. But what's happening now, when they go it's nowhere to run anymore.
Okay, good. And like I said, we're definitely going to explore that a little later on in the show. From you make a living from fishing.
That's it.
How have you watched this impact your business and your livelihood over the 10 years that you say you've been out there fishing for a living?
Well, I noticed a decline in lobster. I'd say probably 5 years really to say like a real decline for me to really notice it in my books.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we having to set condos to try make up for what they taking, you know. So say I was to have, just give you illustration, 100 condos, right? Say I was to have 100, I got to set 200 just so that I could come in and pay for them condos and reap something out of the full 200, because by the time I get to them, they done work. And it's the way they work them. It's like they have their own method of, okay, you got a condo right here, right? You set your condo here, and when you pull that, it's been there for like a month, the grass under it's dead, so you got a white spot when you move it. That's how I move it. I move it full forward on a new spot of grass. But how they do it, they do a twist. We call it the Dominican twist. And it's like if a dinghy comes over that trap and she done been work, they ain't gonna work her. They going to the next one where they ain't been work. They done know their brother or their uncle done work that trap. And that's how they've been doing this. They got the spare guns, but it's strictly against the law in the Bahamas to use. I can't use it as a Bahamian citizen. They coming in our waters. They taking the undersized crawfish, what ain't even got no time to, you know, bear another set of crawfish before.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm a Bahamian citizen, I ring the heads. They taking the heads of the crawfish, what bait up the fish around the trap. You ain't got fish around the trap when you get to that trap. Ain't no crawfish under. We done know this. I could see from the top of the water. If I see fish around that trap, 9 chances out of 10 she got lobster under, unless somebody just been to that trap. So what's been happening, they taking the fish what's around the trap, and they taking the small crawfish what breed in the big crawfish to come in under these traps. So while I'm home 4 months in the summer, this is when they're doing the damage, while everybody's in.
So they are fishing as well during the closed seasons.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Jerome, the southern Bahamas, the crawfish season never closed. Never closed from, I started to fish down south.
You mean never closed for the poachers?
Never closed. I started fishing
Wow.
down south from 1992. From 1992, because I used to fish north and I went south.
Mm-hmm.
And from 1992, it was like that. The crawfish season never closed. So our crawfish season in the southern Bahamas has never closed from 1992 to now. Never. I see the Dominican, when the defense force had a small fleet, like they only had operating on 2 and 3 boats. I see Dominican boats 90 miles south of Coral Harbor.
90 miles?
90 miles south of Coral Harbor. 90.
How
And,
is that possible?
and that's 60 miles in from the old Bahama Channel, inside the bank.
60 miles in.
Inside. That's how comfortable they're fishing.
I was about to say, so now there's this level of comfort now.
Very
and even I understand even aggression.
But now it's like I said, it's changed.
Right.
We get all these extra vessels now.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed, but they out there right on the edge. But they come to the Bahamas to fish just like how we Bahamians, we go and make a trip, we come home, spend a couple of days, we go back. That's the same thing. They come to the Bahamas, make a trip, they go home, spend a couple of days, they family, they come back.
I understand they operate almost 24-hour fishing operations. They don't stop.
I wouldn't put nothing past them.
They got 44 men on a boat. You got 24 hours to the day if they only took half an hour watch. They watching the boat all night because they ain't got no anchorage in the old Bahama Channel. They have no anchorage.
I watched them on the grouper school. That's when we used to allow the fish grouper. I watched them on the grouper school. They come there, if you see 13 or 14 little dinghies come there for 2 hours, that's about 20,000 pound of grouper gone.
What?
Gone.
It's gone.
Gone. Them spare guns, they wiping everything out.
They gone.
Gentlemen, this has certainly been an eye-opener. We are at the point of our first break in the show. We have a lot more to discuss. When we return, more on the record right after this quick break.
Are you afraid to swipe your card and you don't like to carry cash? If so, you need checks. Executive Printers can make checks for all your needs. They have laser checks, personal checks, continuous checks, and more. All checks have up to 15 security features, so you know you'll be protected. You can even customize your checks. Come and see one of our experts today, or log on to epbahamas.com for more info.
In May, Defense Force and Cuban Border Patrol officials met in Cuba and discussed how their units could enhance their collaborative law enforcement efforts during the 5th round of talks on migration between the Bahamas and Cuba. Not long thereafter, the Cuban Border Patrol apprehended 10 Dominicans who fled into Cuban waters after HMBS Durwood Knowles captured their mothership in the southern Bahamas. Tonight, we're examining and discussing poaching of our marine resources and the fight to save our seas. My guest, Keith Carroll, Vice President of the Bahamas Commercial Fishing Alliance, along with Thomas Pinder, a local fisherman. This particular arrest seems to be a game changer. Given the magnitude, 3 ships, 119, and in the past, as you said, these poachers fled into Cuban waters, but that is no longer a safe haven for them.
No, Jerome, they cannot run there anymore. And we, as Bahamians and fishermen, must thank the Cuban ambassador and the Cuban government for working with our Bahamian government, because they just showed it's going to be a big dent in the poaching. You know, these guys have to spend money to come in to fish. And they know if by chances the Defense Force see them, they can't go to Cuba anymore. So they have to, I know the owners of these boats gonna sit back and wonder if it makes sense to invest money to send these boats to the Bahamas to fish.
They've got to pay the fines, and they've lost boats.
They lost boats.
They've lost product.
And you know, when they come out to sea, don't mind the boats looking like that, but they have to put fuel in them. Mm-hmm. They have to put food. They have to buy engines and all this stuff. So it costs money for them to come here. And knowing that these guys, when they come here, sometimes they fish here for, let's say, 2 days. If they ever get bad, they go to Cuba, because they can't anchor on our banks. Mm-hmm. They can't stay in the middle of the ocean, so they can't go to Cuba anymore. That finished. That cut off. Interesting.
One of the reasons I have such an interest in this, I'm working on a special program with the Defense Force. It's currently in production. I had an opportunity to spend a couple days at sea a few weeks ago. I'm on the HMBS Durwood Knowles. While out to sea, we came across a Bahamian vessel one night. 25 crew members on board. 14 were Dominicans.
Wow.
All of them with work permits. Well, some with work permits, some with spousal permits. Mm. Is that a common problem?
Oh, that's a big problem. We have a big problem with that, and a lot of the boats is saying the Bahamians don't want to work. They want to add Dominicans in the place of Bahamians. Well, that's when it becomes an issue for the country, because you bring someone else out of the country who's raping our waters anyway. Everybody knows the Dominican story. You know, they raping our waters, and yet Bahamians complain saying they ain't got no work. Well, I'll tell you why. And why I know they hire these Dominicans. These Dominicans are willing to work for less than Bahamians. Anyone who's going to go out to sea and run a business, of course, they go hire cheaper labor. And that's what's been going on for years. And for me to say, I think I've seen a number of declining the lobster that we've been seeing It's always a decline. Areas I used to go, I used to dive up 100 conchs, one shot, you know, never take all, but I'd take 100, enough to carry home, you know, and bag up and eat. And I can't even find conchs in this area no more. And it's a crying shame what they're doing to this country. And I say, fishing should be for Bahamians only.
And what kind of revenue losses? I mean, we talked a little bit about, you know, the fact that this is your business, but what kind of revenue are we losing as a country as a result of this rampant poaching?
Well, I could give you an example, Jerome. I could just using this as an example. If I supposed to make just using 100,000 a year, that cut down to about 45,000.
Really?
I'm telling you.
Easy.
So you get it's like what 50
to 60%.
Going to either people stealing from you or the Dominicans, like right before they bring these boats in, my lobster traps that they caught them in the Key Lobos area, my boats fishing in the Key Lobos area, almost all my traps break up that I just set in August.
So they destroy the traps
When
as
they
well?
go to your traps, the lobs in your trap, they break it out. They break open the trap to get the lobs out. You have to go back out there. For you to make money, you have to go back out and fix those traps and hoping that something go back inside them.
That's true.
I'm talking about the Dominicans that are here fishing. Jerome, you hear all the talks about conch shortage and conch shortage and conch shortage. And people, they make up this song with conch shortage. They don't even know the reason. These guys that come in and marry our Bahamian women, who, if you ask them the next day who their wife name, they couldn't tell you. But our government are giving those people permits to fish. They go to see Jerome, if right in this area here now, just say if 1,000 conchs here, they'll come, they'll go to the bottom, they'll dive, everyone, they'll break the shell and leave the shell right there. Don't even move the shell. Yeah. When they come out the bottom, all the conchs gone and only shells there. Ain't no conch coming back there. No. And they doing this over the whole Bahamas. Like I tell people, it's like a cancer start to spread from the southern Bahamas and they're running straight to the whole Bahamas because the illegal ones, they fish south. They don't come no further probably in the middle of Andros. Like middle upper Andros, like especially in the summertime they come out. But the ones that we give permits to fish, they all around the little Bahama bank around Grand Bahama. They have permits to go anywhere. So the illegal ones kill in the south and the legal ones kill in the north. And if we don't watch out Jerome, we wouldn't have no fish in this country if we don't tighten up on our laws and we got to do something.
In the instance that I witnessed, there were 14 Dominicans on the boat. 5 of them had spousal permits.
Right.
Marriage of convenience.
And if you would have been on that boat, Jerome, and asked him, just randomly pick out one of them and ask him who their father-in-law and mother-in-law name, they couldn't tell you.
They couldn't.
They couldn't tell you.
How does that make you feel, though? And other fishermen, I've even heard of stories where Dominican poachers have shot at Bahamian fishermen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Numerous times. My father's been shot at. I haven't shot at. I know one instance of them coming, the Dominicans, coming in a little boat with a 40 horse, the same 40s, you know, like what they had arrested and caught this last 2 weeks, and pulling up a white surrender flag, right? When they pull up to the boat, the guy's down in the middle of the boat and comes up with a gun, aiming at one of my good friends. Now, they shot at them. If they wouldn't have took off, they'd have been dead right there because they didn't have no guns in the boat. But you telling me you bring a white surrender flag, yeah, you know, that's I surrender. Mm-hmm. I don't want no more trouble. You know, this is over. I'm going to try talk it out the best way we can. And they start shooting at the man. How you figure? And we in our waters. Why should I feel threatened in my waters?
So I have to tell you a particular story. After my experience with the arrest, I posted a few photos on my Instagram page of the Defense Force working some of the Cubans arrested. Suddenly, all of a sudden, I got these Dominican followers, very angry, and to them, I'll just give you their comments. The sea belongs to God. We should be free to fish wherever we want, and we, as Bahamians, having arrested these men and done this, have taken away the livelihoods of poor Dominicans who are trying to feed their families. That is their rationale. And if you visit my page, it's all over my page. And I sort of tried to correct a few of them.
Right.
But, yeah.
No, but they feel as though they have a right to come to the Bahamas and do what they want to do. And we had let it go on for so long, past governments wouldn't do nothing about it. They feel as though they have the right to do this. You know, Jerome, this something that we not just start complaining about this. We was complaining about this for the past 20-some years. I think because the fishermen complaining about this so much is the reason why the government invests so much money in the defense force. I can tell you from every minister for the last 25 years, every minister of agriculture and fisheries, they know me. The prime minister know me. Everybody know because we always behind them. They have to do something.
Begging for them to do something.
But you know, they got the boats, and this government, I see the fines are going up. I don't know if they're going to pay the fines because the amount of money they're being charged. But I think that well, the new act is going to go to the House soon. So I guess Mr. Dello will speak on that.
Right, we'll talk about that
right.
a little later on in the show. 1980, HMBS Flamingo was bombed by Cuban MiG fighters. 4 Bahamian Marines were killed in that. They were chasing poachers out of our waters, which led into Cuban waters, which led to that incident, which has left us, if I can use the term, gun shy.
Right.
We have not, as a position, chased any poachers. They know this. They go into Cuba. They hide there. What do you think now is going to happen as they realize that we have developed this relationship with the Cuban government, with the Cuban Border Patrol now, Marine Patrol? What is going to happen out there now that, or once word begins to get back to them that this is no longer a safe haven?
I think it's going to slow down. I think what happened last 2 weeks is the best thing that ever happened for the fishing industry. And I must commend Commodore Teller's battle and the government because this was something that we fishermen want to hear a long time. Yeah.
Bahamians are very angry about it as well. You saw it on social media. They were angry at the amount of catch, but they were, I think, even more incensed by the fact that you aren't shooting just at fishermen. You're shooting now at our military, our Marines.
They don't have the respect.
That's how bad they are. They tell you, and you think if they bad enough to shoot at the Marines, they won't be bad enough to shoot at somebody like me or Keith and his boats. I mean, it's happened numerous times. And it's like, they think they could do whatever they want. They're invincible. And that, just like Mr. Keith said, it's like been going on so long now, they feel like they welcome him. And I want to elaborate on what he said by thanking the Defense Force personally on TV, national TV, Mr. Commodore Tellis Bethel and the government for allowing the Defense Force to go out there and patrol the way they do. I, as a fisherman, have seen Defense Force more this season than I have ever seen in my life. So the boats have been used and are being used at this time to do routine patrols, which is great for the Bahamas.
Good. Now, my other concern, though, is the marine resources. You all have said, and even as consumers, we have seen a depletion in our resources. Sometimes you can't, like you said, you can't find conch. At certain times, you can't find certain other marine resources. Is it too late, or what can be done now to really begin to try and replenish our stock? I
don't think it's too late, I think if we continue doing what we're doing now, keeping these poachers out of the water, most fishermen abide by the law. If they say right now we're going to close conch for whatever a season, the payment fishermen might make noise, but they're going to abide by it. The same thing was with the grouper school. Yeah, the grouper, when they closed grouper school, we used to make noise.
I remember. I covered that.
We used to make noise, but we just went by the law. You still find 1 or 2 fishermen still go to try. You can't stop that, right?
Right.
But in all, I think we'll see our industry come back up, especially if we could keep these poachers out in the summer when the lobster season is closed. When the lobster season is closed, all us home. We go for scale fish. And The current will come back as long as when we used to fish, when our boats fish count, just say a regular Bahamian fishing boat, they'll go out to sea for a crew of 6 or 8, and in about 10 days, they may get like 5,000 pounds of skin count. That's a normal. You get a Dominican boat, go to sea with 20 crew for 10 days, they bring 60,000 pounds. They bring in everything one time. Ain't nothing get to plenish itself. They just carry everything. And the way the Bahamians fish, we'll come in this, just say the same area, 1,000 come, we put them in our boat, then we'll go somewhere like a garbage on a bar, and we'll throw the shells there. So that'll be nice for conchs to come back. They wouldn't meet no dead shells there. But not the scuba. The same daily habit that they bring from their country, they bring it here. And not only that, in the off season, when it's illegal to use compressor, Bahamians don't use compressor, but they come in and they know it's illegal to use their compressor to dive count, but it don't make a difference to them. They out there when the season closes, they still use their compressor.
And so we are clear on how a compressor works. What advantage does a compressor give a fisherman?
You can tell me.
The compressor gives the advantage of a fisherman at downtime, bottom time. And when you got bottom time, these Dominicans don't even come up. They have strings, they have wires, and they hook their wires to their belts. And when their wires are full, they come up. So
it allows you to stay down there for longer periods,
grab. They stay down till they almost got the bench. That's how long they down for. And I telling you, they coming up with yellowtails, they coming up with grunts, they coming up with turbots, they coming up with small crawfish, they coming up with ocean tallies, they coming up with anything they could find to make them $1. I can tell you this, and I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. Turtles, man, they do all sorts, killing sharks, whatever they see, they fire them spare guns up, they take it off.
Everything.
Everything, they leave nothing behind. And I have seen it with my own 2 eyes.
Wow. Gentlemen, thank you for agreeing to be my guests. We have heard from you as fishermen who are who come face to face with these poachers every day. I'm going to invite you to stay on. But up next, we're going to talk to the acting director of the Department of Marine Resources about what is being done on the legal side to do something about this huge poaching problem. Stay with us. On the Record continues right after this.
This portion of On the Record is brought to you by Generali Insurance Company Limited, your employee benefits specialists.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the fastest way to purchase the vehicle you want right from home.
With SBT Japan, we import used cars from Japan straight to you.
Car ownership doesn't have to be hard. Go to sbtjapan.com and sign up for free. Search for the car you want. Place your order and make a payment using any one of our convenient payment options. Once you pay the duty and tax to our in-house broker, we will clear the vehicle and even deliver it straight to your home. Sounds too easy? Well, shouldn't it be?
We are in our second season of On the Record, and we thank you, our viewing audience, for allowing us into your homes every Thursday at 8 p.m. We value your opinion, and we want you to be a part of our discussions. So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram and comment on our exciting topics. Remember, it's all on the record. The Department of Marine Resources is responsible for the administration, management, and development of fisheries in the Bahamas. The department was created to administer, manage, and develop the fisheries sector and enforce fisheries regulations, marine mammal regulations, and the seafood processing and inspection regulations. Joining me is the Acting Director of the Department of Marine Resources, Mr. Addison Delava. Mr. Delava, welcome to On the Record.
Good evening, Jerome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you here. You have been involved in this for a long time. I know you over my years of reporting to talk about this problem with our poachers, with poachers in our waters for a long time. But from your perspective, sir, what has the events of the past 2 weeks with the arrest of those men on 3 vessels and that entire scenario, what has that done to affect this situation with poachers in our waters?
Well, Jerome, poaching is a major problem for the Bahamas. Granted, the most recent arrests involved Dominicans. That's only part of the problem.
They aren't the only ones, eh?
No, they're not. We also have the problem with the Americans in the north. However, dealing with what is happening down south, again, the more prolific offenders have been Dominicans. The more damaging have been the Dominicans. As was said earlier, they are indiscriminate in what they do. They do have no regard for seasonality. They have no regard for size limits or anything. Again, as any thief would do, they come into your property, whatever they see of value, they take and they depart. Thankfully, in this particular case, we had the defense force present, and also with the assistance of the Cubans, we were able to do something definitive. And when I say definitive, not only from the arresting side, but also from the prosecution side. Whereas for the first time in history, we've had a fine levied of some $6.5 million. The first time in history. I think now there's a deterrent in place to deal with such offenses.
They were being fined before. This is not the first time that they've been arrested, detained, fined. Is it that it is that significant now that we will see, or it will serve as some kind of deterrent? And why has it taken so long to get to this point?
Well, let me give you some background. I've seen a Bahamian craft arrested for going to sea without a $10 permit and fined $7,000. The maximum fine according to law is $10,000. He's fined $7,000. I've seen a Dominican craft, same court, same date, came in with over $100,000 worth of product. He was fined $3,000. Again, the fines in past were not deterrent, as far as I'm concerned. Again, with this one particular case, where we've had over 100 persons arrested and a fine of 6.5, and then 2, as was said earlier, it would appear now that there is no place for them to run. I think that serves as a deterrent.
So now what happens from a legal side? I mean, the fines have been levied, they are being held. What happens now?
What has happened, the court has ruled that the vessels confiscated, the product confiscated, and that also includes the gear. As was stated earlier, the policy is in place that we don't not return vessels, and I think you would have heard my minister said what's going to happen to those vessels. So
Remind us.
To that.
Remind us what's going to happen to them.
What's going to happen is that the vessels will not be returned, and as my minister would have said, they would probably be scuttled.
Destroyed.
And destroyed. And when it says scuttled, destroyed, used probably as an artificial reef.
But we have heard in the past that some of these vessels that have been captured have been seen again. Back on the waters, and even some of the individuals who've been arrested and fined in the past have returned.
Well, in the past, there was a policy that, as I said, they were confiscated. In the past, they were sold to Bahamians. Somehow or other, 1 or 2 got back into the DR. However, there are 1 or 2 of them that have been bought that are legitimately being used on the high sea by Bahamians. Now, granted, they may have employed foreign crew. Yes, there are foreign crew involved. but the vessels are still being utilized in our waters.
One of the things we talked about in the segment prior to you coming on, I experienced it in my own reporting. 14 Dominicans on board a Bahamian vessel, 5 of them with spousal permits, and I can even say one of them, we were told just in listening, even had a permit to fish.
Again, the Fisheries Act does make provision that once someone has obtained, a foreign national has obtained the permission from the Department of Immigration to be engaged in the fisheries sector, that they are to be engaged. However, from the perspective of the use of the air compressor, that falls within my department. However, the right to work rests with the Department of Immigration.
So that's really out of your hands.
Right.
Interesting. When you gentlemen hear that.
So, Mr. Dello, you could talk about the new act, what the new act will do.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. But when you hear, that immigration allows these people to work, what do you think?
Well, Jerome, we always go in the meetings, all the meetings we have with Mr. Dello, trying to explain this to us, trying to have immigration to come to the meetings to explain it to the fishermen. And I was going in meetings for the past 25 years. Not one immigration officer will ever show up to a meeting to explain this to the fishermen. Not one. And Mr. Dello, you could explain to the public what the new act going to say.
We get into that. We're going to talk to the act. We're going to talk to that. But before we get to that, so I do want to talk about something that also came up in our previous discussion. And you mentioned it, the overfishing, the fishing outside of the season. These gentlemen have both said to me that they have seen a decline in the resources. Is there data now to support that our marine resources are declining as a result of what is happening out there?
There is evidence that there is a decline. There's a decline right now in terms of lobster catch. There's a decline right now in terms of conch catch. However, for me to say that it is definitively linked to that particular aspect, I cannot say that. Because there are other factors involved. There's such a factor such as weather. There's such a factor as number of fishes going after the particular resources. However, yes, the poaching problem does pose a major problem for the management and the sustainability of our resources.
Do you find, by and large, that Bahamian fishermen abide by the laws and fish within the correct seasons, or do they pose a problem as well?
Well, I use the term IUU, which is illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. In terms of Bahamians, the vast majority of them do abide by rules. As Mr. Carroll would have said earlier, yes, there's a lot of noise, but the vast majority of them, once you go through what is called a public education program and you educate them as to why certain rules are in place, they tend to follow it. But again, there will always be the few that you may have to touch on the hand to say, look, these are the rules you need to follow.
One of the things that concerns me, though, is when you talk about Dominican fishermen working for Bahamians, what is to prevent them from communicating with their own countrymen to say, well, this is where we are, or this is what's happening? I mean, because let's be honest, they don't have no loyalty to us. So, go ahead.
It's been happening for years, How do they know where to go for lobster? How do they know how far to go for lobster? I'll tell you this. I was selling condos in the middle of May. This year just gone. I see these 6 dinghies flying straight across my bow. I look on my radar, I put it to 24-mile radius. I don't see a ship in sight. I say, where are these people coming from? Come to find out, I got up closer to them. It was 6 Dominican little dinghies, 40 miles inside the edge in the middle of May. Now, see me as a Bahamian fisherman, that just makes me furious.
So when you say, why is May so significant for those who don't know the season?
May, the season, if anyone don't know, the season for lobster fishermen closes March 31st and reopens August 1st. So the period of time from April until the end of July would be an off season for the fishermen. And me as a fisherman, I don't go out to sea only to set condos. I don't go out for scale fish or nothing. My boat stays to the dock. until August 1st when we leave.
And then you see 6 Dominican
And when I see
skiffs
6
flying
Dominican
past.
fly past, I'm like, man, what should I do? I mean, I need to try stop these, and they done gone.
But Jerome, getting back to the Dominicans that are here and their loyalty to their country. Everybody have satellite phones now. The Dominicans have them. The Dominicans here have them. The ones in their country have them. You know, and I was trying to explain this. Just saying, Thomas is out by Lopez. He see a Dominican boat. He called the defense force. The defense force leaving Coral Harbor. You have a Bahamian registered boat down by Green Key or by South Key with Dominicans on it. They see the defense force heading south. But 10-1 chances, their cousins on the boat down by Lopez. They get on the satellite phone, call them. You all come with the area defense force.
They're on the way.
They're on the way. So,
yeah.
I mean,
It ain't hard.
what sensible thinking government would give these people permit to fish, and they could help
The
poachers to come and say, well, you all go fish the Key South Bank. We saw the defenses up by Ragged Island. Just go on the satellite phone.
And what's even more disturbing when you talk about the spousal permits. So women are now allowing themselves, Bahamian women are now allowing themselves to be used in this racket.
Jerome, a defense force captain called me and said, Carol, let me tell you the kind of problem we have. We just arrested a boat. We find 6 Dominicans on this boat. Their papers show 6 of them got married on a Saturday.
The same day?
The same day. The same day, Jerome, by the same pastors.
What?
The same
same
witness.
pastor?
The same
witness?
And the same witness.
Oh my.
And they get married. They show where they came in the country on a Friday, get married on a Saturday, and Monday they had the spousal permits.
That's something.
They had the permits to wait.
You gotta know somebody deep.
So what just telling you?
Interesting. Gentlemen, thank you for that revelation. All married on the same day?
On the same day, 6.
Must be a Ministry of Tourism thing. Stay with us. We have more on the record right after this quick break.
My name is Janine Hepburn and I'm the CEO of Big Picture Paint and Sip Studio. Big Picture Paint and Sip Studio is a place for you to come to paint, sip, mingle, and simply have fun. We have regularly scheduled events that go from Wednesday through Saturday of each week. Make a reservation, visit our website, book online at bigpicltd.com. The list brings something that's pretty creative to the market, and Big Picture Paint and Studio is simply a work of art. For our live customers that wish to redeem their rewards with us, simply contact us, and once your event is set up, your discount will be applied. So whether you're a silver, gold, or platinum Alive subscriber, your rewards are there and ready to be redeemed.
Welcome back to On the Record. My guest, Acting Director of the Department of Marine Resources, Addison Delabo, along with Keith Carroll and Thomas Pinder, who have been with me for the duration of the show. We have heard, sir, about the overfishing, fishing outside of the season, the attacks on the Bahamian fishermen, the depletion of our resources. We've heard all of these things that have been negatively impacting. One of the things that really is one of the things that's a pillar of the Bahamas are our fishing. I mean, our waters are what make us great. people, Bahamians have lived off the sea from the very beginning. It's where these gentlemen and others like them make their living. Even sports fishermen, this is what they come to the Bahamas to do. But these things are now under threat. All of that to lead up to where are we in terms of strengthening our laws to deal with these kinds of things and to begin to really put a dent into all of this illegal activity that's having such a negative impact on this thing that we love so much?
Jerome, the department has been working on a new draft Fisheries Act for the last 4 to 5 years. The current act dates back to 1977. How
long?
1977.
Boy, a lot has changed since 1977.
A lot has changed,
Oh,
correct. And the Bahamas has signed on a whole lot of international conventions to which we have to ensure that the protocols of those conventions are enshrined into our laws. 2 years ago, we undertook a review of the draft, in that the Bahamas would have signed on to a new international measure which is called the Agreement on Port State Measures. The sole idea behind port state measures is to control those vessels that are engaged in what we call IUU fishing, in this case, as we use in the Bahamian vernacular, poaching, from going into any port and using the services of those ports to transship or to offload their catches. The Bahamas has signed on to that, and to ensure that we are in keeping with our obligations, we saw fit to put those rules into our draft act. Recently, there have been meetings of the Fisheries Advisory Committee and a core group of the Fisheries Advisory Committee to review those laws. Those laws are near completion. Again, we're getting the final wrap on it. The AG's office, the Attorney General's office has a copy of it because they were uniquely involved in the enshrining of this new piece of legislation. So we have sent it back to them for cleanup processes. Once that is completed, it goes to the minister for cabinet's conclusion. But let me say this. The draft act has the input of all stakeholders, be it the fishers, be it the processors, the NGO community. Everyone who is engaged in the sector has had a voice in what's being put forth.
Question. Is this legislation going, or as a part of the Fisheries Act, going to have more teeth to deal with situations where poachers are arrested, even Bahamians who are caught in illegal activity?
Yes, it will. The fines have been greatly increased. The penalty in terms of incarceration have been greatly increased. Some may even say severe and extreme.
Well, that's okay. Good.
But again, the fines will serve as the fines and the incarceration phase will serve as a deterrent.
Are you satisfied that the increase in patrols with the vessels, etc., of the Defense Force are making an impact on what is happening out there?
Yes, I am. For this year alone, we've already had 5 arrests.
And how does that compare to previous years? You say years, this is October.
Yeah, 5 arrests, but again, you have to remember the mandate of the Defense Force. Not only do they have poaching to deal with, they have a whole gambit of other mandates. Human trafficking, they would have drug interdiction, all of that. Again, when they are there, they do make an arrest on our behalf. We are very, very appreciative, realizing what they have to do. Again, with these latest ones, I'm sure, as you've heard, the fishing community, they started concerning it. Again, these are persons who place their lives on the risk for us. Those are the ones who are just ensuring that the Bahamian fishermen, when they go there, are able to eke a livelihood from our resources. And again, they are making their presence felt.
Now, you would have mentioned that, and we know this, the Defense Force is not just concerned with poaching. I mean, we could talk about immigration and, the fact that you have immigrant vessels that make it all the way into Nassau Harbor, into the periphery of Nassau undetected, so that, their work is already cut out for them. Are there any other agencies that are involved, or any other methods that we can employ to assist in this effort? Even from your department's perspective, I mean, are there any discussions about you having your own set of patrols or things in place to assist the Defense Force in their work?
Yes, we are, and let me say this for the record, the department does work closely with regional organizations, as well as we work closely with NOAA Fisheries, which is a U.S. counterpart in the U.S. government. In terms of what the department is doing, I should say for the record that we're about to commission a new patrol craft. Right now we have 5 patrol crafts, mainly operating in the northern part of the country, and there one in New Providence area. Those vessels are operational primarily during the summer months. You would have heard arrests being made in the Abaco areas for persons found using air compressors, persons harvesting lobsters during the closed season and the like. So we do have an active presence on the seas. Again, we are responsible for short-range patrol, but in the far south...
These aren't big boats, you say short-range
these are
patrol.
short-range patrols.
Okay, okay.
Again, we do party with Defense Force and the police when we undertake those operations. But for the far-flung south, that enforcement effort is left to the Defense Force.
No plans to move your efforts down south?
As we, again, recently we would have deployed officers in the south. I know that they are asking for vessels. But again, these things have to be budgeted and monies have to be found to ensure.
When the government listening, we need marine resources needs both. Gentlemen, when you hear this, you hear that the Fisheries Act is going to be updated from 1977. That's a long time for something so important to be sitting on the books and not being updated. But you hear that, you hear the fines, etc., are going to have more teeth. Even the fact that they're going to be more, patrol boats given to the department. When you hear that, does that give you hope?
Yes, Jerome. This is something that we were agitating for a long time. And it's looked, like I tell Thomas, it looked like what we were working on all those years, these meetings and this, is finally paying off. It's coming, look like everything coming to an end right now. And I hope that when the new act pass and we're working with the Cubans and everything come together, all this puzzle come together, him and fishermen will go back out there and do like what we was doing years ago. Years ago, you could almost count the money you're going to make. You could almost say, well, we're going out to sea, we're going to make this. That's how it was.
You knew what you were going to get.
Yeah, you know you was going to get because you set your traps, you don't need nobody going to fool with your trap. That's how it was 15, 20 years ago.
Well, hopefully those days are coming back, Mr. Delavo. It's promising to hear in instances like this where efforts are being made to do something for something so important to our life, our livelihood, even to our existence. I mean, the sea is a part of who we are. It's always been that culture. Yeah, most definitely.
It's our culture, but it takes all of us working in tandem.
Yes.
It takes all of us. The fishermen, again, we say to them, as we always do, if you come across a Dominican craft, report it. Your eyes are there. Report it to the Defense Force. Let those who are trained and are able to deal with such things, deal with them. Again, bring the information to our attention. Again, we are a group of us working in one basket to ensure that you benefit.
I like that. One basket. Only one Bahamas. All right. Gentlemen, and with that, we're going to close out tonight's show. I do want to thank you for coming and having this discussion with us. Given all that happened over the past few weeks, we felt almost compelled to do the show to shed some light on what was happening and certainly make our Bahamians a little bit more aware of what's happening around them. 5 men get married in one day. Six one day, same pastor. My Lord. Wow.
I want to thank Thomas. Him and his wife went over in the speedboat from Spanish Wells.
You came in the speedboat from Spanish Wells?
6 o'clock.
Wow. Listen, we really appreciate that now. I think I ever had no guests do that before. But I thank you for coming. I really appreciate your story. It's very significant. We're coming to Spanish Wells.
Come.
All right, you're going to take us out on that boat. All right, gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming. Good luck to you. And of course, Mr. Delabo, we'll be looking for those changes to the Fisheries Act, and the best of luck to you and your folks as well.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you for being here. We hope that you have enjoyed tonight's show. Special thanks to my guests, Keith Carroll, Thomas Pinder, Addison Delavo. On behalf of my producer, technical staff, and crew, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jerome Sawyer. We'll see you next time.